Even though it hurts, I won't show it to you.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back for our Friday craft. We're starting out with this linen white, and we're going to mix some of that with some baking soda. We're not going to put too much in there. We're just going for a very light texture, nothing too chunky on that. And we are going to start covering our frames with this. We want full coverage. We don't want any of that wood grain showing through there. I chose to add some baking soda to this because there's some little cracks and stuff in the frames that I wanted to kind of fill in and cover. So just make sure that you're getting good coverage with that. And while that's drying, I am going to start mixing some colors together so that I can get the blue that is needed, like in the inspiration photo. And what I do is I take this is the color I have here, but this is the main color that I'm working with. I added a little bit of this deeper blue in to take away some of the green. I added some black in to darken it up, and then I added some white in to lighten it up and not change the color more blue or green. So these sticks here can show you, those are my test sticks, just because when it's wet it's a little bit different color. Then when it dries, it'll dry a little bit darker. So I was able to kind of use those test sticks to test out and let it dry and add more paint or more white or whatever I needed to get to the color I wanted. So I did 2 really good coats on this and make sure I had full coverage. And while that started to dry, I went in with my bird song decor mold, and I went in with this Pfirrman mold. I put it here because I think it's discontinued, I'm not sure. So I used some of this amazing cast resin, and I will tell you right now, I probably will not use this again for any kind of molds that are a little bit more detailed, like the Pfirrman mold. It dries or cures unbelievably fast. So if you have bigger molds that you can kind of just pour it all in and you don't have to do any kind of fine detail in that, then it's probably really great. But I had a lot of difficulties trying to get my molds full before it started to kind of seize up on me. So you could see here it's even starting to turn white. So once I got all of those poured and they started to set up in about 10 minutes, I demolded those, and I started just kind of figuring out where I wanted to put these on my frames. And I just kind of went around, and some of the pieces I actually cut apart just so I could kind of get it to fill where I wanted. If you have any pieces that have a little bit of overpour, you could use some scissors or an X-Acto knife to kind of cut those edges off. But I just played around with it. This is probably like the longest part of this, is just kind of figuring out where you want things. So you can see the picture frame kind of changes because I am working between 2 different picture frames. So you'll see the designs on these kind of change out here and there, but that's because I'm working on 2 frames at the same time. So once I got it down to where I wanted, I took my Type Bond glue. You can use any kind of glue you want, and I just glued those down and let it dry. And then I went back over with my same blue paint and painted over the molds. So once that paint dried, I went in with some white wax and some clear wax, and I blended those together because I didn't want a straight white wax. I wanted it to be a little bit translucent and not so thick with the white, because I didn't want like a very strong white in there. I just wanted like a hint of it, and I wanted to have some playtime with the antique wax. So it just kind of gives you more freedom to move that stuff around when you put it down. And I mixed the antique wax with the white and clear wax mixture that I had done before, and so that way it wasn't too dark. So the first thing I did was I got the clear and white wax mixture and I put a layer of that over my frame first. I just wanted to make sure I wanted to work that wax down into the crevices, and I didn't do the whole frame before I started wiping. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to have a bunch of dried white wax on there, so I would put it on and wipe it back, put it on and wipe it back. So my main thought was just so that I could put that layer on and it would kind of give me a little bit of extra playtime and some movement, so when I put this darker wax on there, I had that kind of protective barrier and I wasn't going to be stuck with a really dark wax base on there. So that white clear wax mixture really helps a lot with you being able to move everything around and kind of add or take away what you want, because I didn't want it to be so dark. I just wanted to kind of give that a little bit of that aged look, but not look really rustic, because these are a little bit more elegant frames. So once I got that where I wanted it and kind of it looked well to me, I let it dry and I went in with my gilding wax, because I have to have this every project that I do. So I went in and with my finger again, and I started going over those molds that I put on, and I am going a little heavier handed here because I really want a gilded look. So I'm not pushing that into the crevices, but I am really doing a heavy coat over the top, and I'm really like working that and rubbing it in because I want it to be shiny. I don't want it to look too antique-y. I want it to really have a gilded look to it. So I'm just going in, and then once I get everywhere that I can get with my finger, I actually get a small brush and I'm just working my way up in the little crevices, mostly up the sides, on the sides of those molds, to just kind of give it that little jeweled look. So but I didn't go into the tiny crevices on the top, to let some of that blue still kind of poke through on there. I went in the corners and around the outside frame and the inner circle frame. It's not complete coverage, but it is there. So I hope you all like this, and I hope you enjoyed watching this and you learned something that inspires you, and we'll see you next Friday.
And even if you're trying to hurt me, my skin's getting